Gentlemen, if you would like it. It's recorded in volume 971, page 715, section 1, dated September 16th, 1998. Because of the homestead agreement, homeowners in the homestead bought property expecting the adjacent property to be a controlled phase 2-like development which would protect their property values because of this consistent set of CCRs. This is evidenced by the title page of the Homestead Covenants, which was written by Crystal Land Development, which states in part, a planned development to maintain the current and future value of the homestead. Homestead owners expected a logical development of the 58 acres, not a piecemeal division. This replat does not comport with the original intent of the homestead agreement written by Crystal Land Development. As homeowners, we believe that this replat has the potential to negatively impact our property values, and what happens now to this property sets a precedent for future development of the remaining 52 acres. Therefore, we believe any replat of this property should make it a lot of the homestead subdivision, not of the woods. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another request here to speak. Looks like Mike Thornton.
Yes, I'm at 209 Phoenix. I'm lot 9 in the homestead, which is adjacent to this property. And I just want to echo those same concerns. This impacts me directly since it's right next to my property. And I just bought this property in the last 3 years. And so I bought that with the idea that that adjacent property was going to have the same HOA ordinances. And so I would also be concerned if the replat would change any of those HOA ordinances, because that would change the value of my property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that document that you are talking about, is that part of the, is that a deed restriction document, or what does that actually say it is? It's a intention.
It is part of the, or an addendum to the original covenants.
Could I have you speak into the mic, just so we can have it on record?
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
It's an addendum to the original covenants as that were recorded. It was designed to, specifically to address what was originally a 60-acre plot that was not completely developed when the homestead was developed. 2 acres of that was sold to a lot owner in the homestead to increase his lot size, leaving it now as a 58-acre parcel.
You have copies of that for us?
Yes, sir. Oh, excuse me. This is it. Specifically, Section 1 addresses that issue.
Okay.
These are all the same.
Yes, sir. I believe so.
You guys get one. Did you get one?
If those aren't all the same, here's
It looks like the different pages on there.
here's 10 copies of it.
Yeah, it's confusing because they're talking about the homestead.
Oh, there's
Which is
multiple
right
pages.
next to it. This shows just a It shows it. Let's see. It looks like this is here.
Thank you very much.
Dorothy,
They're trying to take it in from one.
this is the full
Replat.
package. This is just this one. This is the same thing.
Yes, didn't know if you need.
So one piece of the 60 acres has already been sold.
Yes, sir, a 2-acre portion, but that 2 acres was attached to a lot that's in the homestead, so it continued under our covenants, our CCNRs. It in no way was affected as this would be.
All I see in here, I guess, is, and I'm not an attorney, but it says this shall not be subdivided into more than 35 single-family residential lots.
That's correct, but it also goes on in this document to speak that it's subject to the same CCNRs as the homestead when it's developed into this 35-lot subdivision. By piecing it off like it is now, or proposed to be, and attaching it to a different homeowners association, it violates, in our opinion, and that was, well, at any rate, this homestead agreement.
Yeah, so you're saying the 60 acres is part of the homestead as opposed to part of the woods?
At least with regards to the CCNRs. It is not owned by us, it's not controlled by us, other than by the CCNRs. But yes, sir.
And those are only covenants relevant to the,
To property use,
just the homeowner association?
yes, sir.
Okay. And those can be, those are different than deed restrictions?
Not entirely, I don't believe. I mean, again, I'm not an attorney either, sir, so I wouldn't like to give an opinion on that. But it certainly restricts land use and many of the things that we can do in the neighborhood.
So your concern is if this property is replatted and attached to the wood, which is under a different homeowners association, then the homestead no longer has control of what that property can be used for?
Absolutely.
Hypothetically, they can run cows on it or put goats on it or something that would be not permitted in the homestead?
That's correct, as well as the fact that if this was developed as envisioned into 35 lots, there would also be the monetary aspect of it as, homeowners assessments. Because there is no access to this property other than through the homestead. There are no roads, there are no utilities. So any development of it would have to come through our homestead association. So therefore, it's important for us to have those assessments so that we can maintain roads.
Would it be mandatory for y'all's homeowners association to allow access to this property even though it's not in the homestead once it's replatted?
That's a legal question.
And I just want to remind the commission that as the Planning and Zoning Commission, with restricted deeds and covenants, those are private that's a civil matter between two private parties. What we're looking at today is, does it meet our subdivision ordinance requirements? Basing your decision off that. So I just wanted to remind you and have you be cautious when you're discussing these restrictive deeds and covenants.
So in your estimation, Trent, it meets all those requirements?
It meets all the subdivision ordinance requirements with the city. Once again, we don't look at the restricted deeds and covenants. That's a civil matter between two parties, whoever they're between. The city's not one of those parties.
So if they take up any controversy, that's separate and apart from what we're looking at.
Right, you really need to focus on, does it meet our subdivision ordinance requirements? Is there a health safety issue? Really, that's your purview, is our subdivision ordinance.
I didn't sign up to speak, but may I?
Yes, if you would like to, please go to the podium. Give us your name and address, please.
My My name is Marion Myers. I live at 360 Saddle Club Drive in the Homestead neighborhood. I just want to clarify, in case it got lost in the discussion about covenants and stuff. We would like to see this platted as a lot in the homestead, not as a lot in the woods. So we have 67 lots in the homestead. We'd like this to be lot 68 rather than lot 27 in the woods. That's all we're asking for.
But you did not propose to replat this in any way. You're not proposing to replat this.
I'm saying if the city's going to replat it to as a lot of the homestead, not as a lot of the woods.
Gives them control.
He can still own it. There's no problem with ownership. It's just the platting format. It should be one of the 35 parcels of the 60 acres, as that agreement mentions.
So Trent, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
There seems to be a document that limits how this property can be replatted, which is not in our purview.
Right.
Have we, from a legal standpoint, looked at, are we, by approving a replat of this property, which is the only thing we can or cannot do, are we violating some?
I'm not an attorney myself.
I'm not
However,
either, but I think that's a question we need
No,
to
it
get answered
absolutely
before we
is.
approve this.
We do have the city attorney here that just walked in the room. Who
Trent-
will be able-
Trent captured it. Y'all's purview, your jurisdiction is what's in the subdivision code. That's it. Now, if that violates a restrictive covenant or something that runs with that property, that's going to be between the two private parties. And in answer to your direct question, no. There's no liability for applying our subdivision code in this manner.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else to speak for the public hearing portion? Seeing none, I close the public hearing at 4:47 and open it up to any comments we might have as a commission.
Trent, I have another question.
Yes, sir.
There's a significant drainage swale running through the middle of this piece of property. Does that need to be addressed at this stage, or would that be addressed if any development were to happen on that property?
There will be, if there's any sort of development on this property, they'll have to go through the different, the city doesn't address that. The county, they'd have to go before the county to address those drainage concerns,
Okay.
before their county engineer.
Any other questions, comments?
But, the requirements that they're meeting is they have sewer, they're meeting all of the subdivision. When you're replanting a piece of property, they look, is the property being served? What needs to change? Are they adding any easements? They didn't propose any of that. And so that's why we didn't require any sort of drainage plan as part of the replatters, or request any additional easements. If they do decide to develop that, I'm pretty sure the county will require them to go through their procedures to go ahead and do that, but that will be outside of our purview once again.
So I understand the position we're in as far as what we can and can't consider. Is there any reason why this can't be postponed to a later date to let them determine?
Yes, there's actually state laws stating that you have so many days to have a case advertised, posted for replat. At the end of that time, if a decision is not made either to deny or approve the plat or replat, it's automatically approved.
Okay. So you kind of tied it.
And replats are usually pretty close to that deadline just due to having to put it in the newspaper, sending out notices, those requirements. It usually is pretty close to that 28 to 30 days.
I can appreciate the homestead's concerns, but
Absolutely.
I think that those concerns need to be taken up with the owner and their attorneys, and what is they're legally bound to be able to do and not be able to do. and hopefully they can reach some sort of agreement. But I think as far as what we're tasked with today, we're just looking at the,
Whether it qualifies.
yeah, whether it qualifies, which I believe it does.
Any other comments?
I agree, I think it's, we really don't have much of a choice.
No, I think it's.
I mean, from what it looks like there's a strong argument for those covenants to be conveyed or at least addressed in some form or fashion.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the plat as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, 2B on the agenda is a public hearing and action for a replat. Trent?
Yes, thank you. The next replat you have in front of you is on 1421 Broadway. They're requesting to replat Block 6, 16, Lot 12, and parts of Lots 10 and 11 in the part of the J.A. Tybee subdivision. Staff did not 30 notices to all property owners within 200 feet. 0 came back in favor, 0 in opposition. We did receive, once again, multiple calls on this one as well, just more curious of what they were wanting to do with their property. After I explained to them that they were combining the lots, it seemed like everyone was okay with the request. But once again, I did not receive anything in writing from any property owner within 200 feet. This does meet all the requirements. In the staff report, I did mention the text up. We did go ahead and discuss that with Textile, and we had that all figured out and completed. We passed out an amended version of the replat that's in front of you right now. And this does meet all of our requirements, and we do recommend approval.
All right, this requires a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 4:52. Anyone wishing to speak to this forum, please approach the podium. Give us your name and address, please. Seeing or hearing none, I close the public hearing at 4:53. Comments?
I got a question, Trent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's another lot. I'm looking at the existing map on the left there. There's another lot behind there that's not shown in there?
It's if I'm understanding correct, there's an alley between the two. Am I hearing you right? I apologize.
No, because if you look at the map, it appears that there's another lot back there.
Looking at the,
I'm looking at those. Are those property lines that I'm seeing there?
That
Or-
small
Those
lot.
are Kerr County appraisal lines that you're seeing
Appraisal
right there.
lines, okay,
They're appraisal
okay,
lines of how
okay.
Kerr County has separated those lots. Usually, Kerr County shows them by how they're paying how their taxes are being assessed
Okay.
on
But
the lot.
the-
So some of them are parts. Back in the day, in this, it was a pretty common practice for people to sell land by meets and bounds descriptions and sell parts of lots. That's what's happened in this general area. You'll see these land divisions. A lot of these are parts of 10 and 11 lots, a part of multiple lots.
So the lot actually does go all the way back to the alley, but
Yes, sir.
there's some other structure or something back there.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second. Motion and a second in place. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 5-0. Okay. 2C, public hearing and resolution. Trent?
Thanks, sir. This next is for a conditional use permit for 2605 Junction Highway. It's west of Cobalt Road between Junction Highway and Nimitz Lake, also known as Guadalupe River. They're requesting a conditional use permit for retail trade 1 alcoholic beverage sales for off-premise consumption for an approximate 28.25 acre tract. They did submit a site plan for this project to show you the specific areas on the site where they do plan on selling this alcohol. Staff did not 20 notices to all property owners within 200 feet. 0 came back in favor, 0 in opposition. We did not receive any calls pertaining to this. So, apologize. This is currently the Yogi Bear, also the Guadalupe RV Park. That's been around for quite a long time here in this community. Kind of showing you the general area of what it looks like. This is the front of the property as looked down. As you look at it, looking from the gate. I apologize. These are the various structures, images provided by the owner of the property, and a representative, showing where possible locations for the sale of alcohol. The sale of alcohol is going to be, they have these current camp/general stores where people can go and buy general goods, and they're hoping to just be able to sell alcohol out of, I would compare it to almost a convenience store, AUC, but probably on a smaller scale, geared towards more of the campers on site. At this location, there's currently a bar there, so alcohol on the property, the sale of alcohol is not something new to the area of what's going on. The property's land use designation is general commercial. The existing base zoning district is not being amended at this time. But that general commercial feature land use designation, the sale of alcohol is permitted by right in various zoning districts. The proposed conditional use permit will be located within 2 existing structures on the site that currently will act as a general camp store, as I previously mentioned. The requested conditional use permit will have little to no impact on the surrounding properties. The proposed use will not be visible from the public right-of-way, and a majority of the impact caused by the proposed conditional use permit will be in the confines of the site itself. The proposed conditional use permit will not require the construction of any new structures. Staff has found no indication of likely adverse effects on the public health, safety, or welfare. This does meet and abides all requirements in accordance with Chapter 1 of the City of Kerrville Zoning Code, Article 11-1-13, Conditional Use Permits. You did receive a copy of the site plan. If at any time they decide to move where they sell alcohol, they will have to go back through the same process. They can't go ahead and expand those. They can't expand those structures to sell alcohol. So it's like any other zoning case. There is a legal process to go through a public hearing process if they do wish to ever amend these locations or their request. It would go back to you and then City Council. Staff does recommend approval.
Okay, this also requires a public hearing. We'll open that public hearing at 4:58. Anyone wishing to address this forum, please approach the podium. State your name and address, please. Hearing or seeing none, I close this public hearing at 4:59 and open it up to any comments from the commission.
Trent, there's 2 buildings highlighted here. Were they going to have alcohol sales in both, or one or the other? Do we know?
Right. From talking to the applicant, the owner, their plan right now is to do it in the front building right now, and it sounds like they might be adding it to the back building as well. And the condition is they want to add it there just to make sure later on they wouldn't have to be coming back through this process in a month or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I did include a zoomed in map showing
mm-hmm.
those specific buildings on site.
Mm-hmm. Now this will be open to the general public too, not just to
Yes,
people
sir.
on.
So in essence, basically what this is gonna be, the liquor store? Liquor store, when you say alcohol, you're talking about?
I just bear one.
Our code states any alcohol sales for off-premise consumption. They're still going to have to meet all state requirements and the requirements for the sale of alcohol. but our ordinance does not specify the different types of alcohol you can sell, either liquor versus beer.
It could be a package store, basically,
Possibly, all right.
where they could buy it and carry it off.
Yes, sir.
I guess I have a little bit of a concern, whether or not, irregardless of the alcohol sales, a convenience store could get used by quite a few people along that stretch just because it's be closer than some others. Will parking be addressed if that's the case, if they start construction, or is there any way that parking would be addressed for a convenience store at that location?
Right. So as part of this process, these are both being used for uses as retail. These convenience stores, our zoning code does not specify a difference between if you're selling alcohol or not. The parking is going to remain the same. They did meet all requirements for parking.
Okay.
For this area. And they recently, just for your record, went through a development site plan process for an aquatic center they're adding on site, where we looked at parking at that time as well, and we didn't have any concerns about the parking situation for the site.
I just wanted to be sure that
That's a
It
very
was
good
looked
question,
at.
though. Excellent question.
Well,
Thank
they've
you.
got 28 acres here that's included in this conditional use
Yes, sir.
allowance, so they've got plenty of room to negotiate all that.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to accept their request.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Staff reports.
Yes, we've been very busy in our office as of late. This last year, we've been very busy, which is a good thing. I'm not complaining. With that, in turn, this commission is going to be very busy as well, which you have been. We do have things already scheduled for December 1st and December 15th. So just please put that on your calendar. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. We're already on track for a busier year than what we had last year for different types of cases coming in. So thank you all for serving. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
It was brought up to me by Mayor White, and just we had a discussion on it about the comprehensive plan,
Yes, sir.
and that Planning and Zoning Commission is in charge of reviewing that
Yes, sir.
periodically.
Yes, sir.
Is there how often does that need to be done? Is there any plans to do that?
So in the original
future?
comprehensive plan document, we can put this on a later agenda as well. Any comprehensive plan you look at is supposed to be amended every couple of years to really change to adapt to what your city's been doing. The original comprehensive plan was adopted in 2002. There's one amendment between 2002 and now. These plans also expire. Council has, they are starting the process of redoing our comprehensive plan altogether, which will be a community-wide effort to really put this together, which I hope and plan to have you as part of it, not only as a commission, but members of the community. We're really hoping to reach out to everyone around us to participate in this process. So,
If that's the case, does it make sense for this commission now to review any of that, or do we need to wait for the city, and how long could that take?
I mean, I don't really understand the reason why, to tell you the truth. Just because we do have it budgeted in our budget for a new comprehensive plan. We do have the council liaison might be able to shed more light on this.
The council in our work session, I lost track of the days this week, we've been in meetings every day, but sometime this week, spent quite a bit of time talking about the comprehensive plan, and we've got transport plans, wastewater plans, water plans, park plans. The comprehensive plan is supposed to put all this together, but the question we've never really addressed and spent time is, what are we trying to achieve by that comprehensive plan? What are we trying to incentivize? What does this council want to make happen with the future of the city and with input from citizens? So we have put on the table It hasn't been approved because you don't do that in the concept of really engaging someone to help us put a top-level plan, then the comprehensive plan and all those would fall out. I'm certainly not authorized to say this is what the council would recommend you do, but if you ask me, I think doing anything right now might, and in 6 months from now, we say, oh, we're gonna change the comprehensive plan. You say, well, hell, why didn't you tell me that before we spent 40 hours? You know, I would hold off a bit, you know, and let us, if we get our plan in place, that'll be in a sequence and we'll say, this is when we really need it. Your point is right though, Garrett, that's something we think y'all ought to do on a regular basis, but I don't want you to go dive into something and we make a major detour on some kind of strategy for the city and you've just spent 10 of your precious hours doing something, or 20, that gets thrown out because we turned left and you thought we were going to go a little bit right, so to speak. That's just Glenn Andrews' thought. Now,
Well, Glenn, the question is then, are you going to build the plan from the ground up, or are you going to build the plan from the top down?
we're going, well, the top level plan, we're going to build top down.
Top-down plan.
Top-down plan.
So you're going to give the so-called objectives of what you would like to see accomplished, and then somebody else is going to work on the details of where that accomplishment occurs.
That's what this guy wants, and that's what I think we kind of agreed
Does
to
that include a consultant?
on Tuesday.
Does that include consultants, or does that include
Yes.
something else?
Yes, and then we'll have to involve citizens. I mean, it can be if we just need to take a swipe at something to get something out there to be a target. And I don't say that flippantly, but I mean it's not going to be something we do overnight. But we are going to have consultants. We are going to ask them to help us think: what's the target? What are we trying to achieve? Then how does the comprehensive plan need to be modified if we're going to make it in concert with that? And then from that, how does the thoroughfare plan have to be modified? How does the wastewater plan? How does the all those should, in my understanding, are kind of under that umbrella. And y'all are critical to the comprehensive plan, but, you know, my recommendation, don't do anything until you hear back from us. I will take that comment to the council on the December 13th meeting and tell them what I shared with y'all. And if we get different directions, we'll get back to you, but I certainly wouldn't.
Well, as you saw today, we have a conflict here with these two bodies coming together, and our role was to either approve it or not approve it.
Right.
And what's the basis for not approving it? There was no basis.
There's
It
no
met all the
basis.
requirements, but it created a conflict
Right.
in the community unnecessarily, in my opinion.
Oh,
That was my biggest concern.
but I think, Don, and I think it's a great point, but we'd have to ask Mike, but we're limited on by state authority on what we can
I
do.
understand.
I'm looking at Trent. If I'm getting off on something wrong, tell me detour. But we're limited in state. And the comprehensive plan isn't going to change our ability to direct the use of land outside of in the ETJ, which is where they were.
Yeah, they're in the ETJ, which makes it even more confusing to them.
They don't, yeah, right.
They don't really understand how our
I
authority
think
falls.
we got to communicate. I mean, this is happening more and more frequently. We're getting people who come to us and say, well, we're out here, why don't you give us water and sewer? Well,
Because you're not paying for it.
that answer works real well sometimes, but not too well most of the time.
Yeah.
But you're
But
right,
it's
though,
true.
exactly right.
Listen,
You understand what I'm saying, Don? I'm not sure, maybe I'm not answering your question, but there are, just like the county has zero zoning authority.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're going to the county next, and I thought, for what reason?
yeah.
Because
I mean,
it's not in the city.
Here's the issue that happened to us not too long ago, had to do with Martin Marietta.
Exactly.
This plan by the city was to annex it and then try to set some sort of platting agreement that we're going to zone it residential 1. I mean, I thought it was a joke, to tell you the truth.
I just want to reiterate, this isn't something we have on the agenda,
No,
about
it's general discussion.
general discussions. We have to be really cautious of what we're discussing because we have to post these meetings, make sure meetings stay.
What I would ask you
Well, I
to
can put
do,
this on the agenda.
Okay,
for
you
next
the answer to the comprehensive plan, it's my strong recommendation, y'all wait, you know, you can get familiar with it, but I certainly wouldn't start until we get the overarching plan and come back. But I'll take that suggestion I made to the entire council on the 13th, and if they give me different directions, Trent will share that with y'all.
okay, Trent, if you would, if there's a date required to do something on a current comprehensive plan, let us know. If there is, and it falls within this time period that Mr. Andrews talking about, then we can maybe get an extension or something. I'm not sure if we're up against an obligation to do something by a certain date. The last comprehensive plan I went to was like in 2001 or 2. That was like a 20-year plan.
Our comprehensive plan, I believe it says every 2 years you're supposed to relook at it and do an amendment. So there's been it was adopted in 2002, so quite a few years that haven't been looked at. So
That was really the focus of my question is, does that need to be added to a future agenda item? But at the same time, I appreciate Councilman Andrews'
You know,
comments that I don't want to spend a lot of time on something that's going to get redone anyway.
It doesn't say at what depth you have to look at it.
right.
If we're in that problem, if you
Just
feel we're in a legal issue.
I don't want this commission to miss any of its obligations.
Right.
Understand?
Good.
And I think that's a great point, Garrett, but I mean, again, it doesn't say,
It just says it needs. I think it says it needs to be reviewed.
I'll get back to you, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's check
Trent and I
that.
Trent and I will carry this message forward and see where
Okay,
we
good.
are, but I just don't want you to waste time.
Okay.
I just don't want you to waste time.
Anything else for this commission today? If not, I'll ask for an adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. We're adjourned at 5:13.